Missing the times when life was filled with imagination, when we loved that game called concentration, playing weird games that we'd make up, and our telephones would be made with strings and cups, when we were small and life was easy. All I see now are money problems and crazy drugged-up teens. Go for it, by all means. The only way to make life easy is to be on drugs, and running around and becoming little thugs, crashing cars because you're not in your right mind, killing your best friends who are really hard to find, hurting yourself because there's nobody to talk to, and the only one who tries to help you is you. The world claims to be helping the future generation, all the while having this huge expectation. If we had the right help, there would be less suicides, less overdoses, and less people confined. Our generation needs a little bit more, something to help keep away what is making us sore. If we don't have everything we need, how can you expect us to succeed?
We can learn, and we can have friends, and can be creative. And when we have those things, then we're not unhappy, you know? So when we have those things, we don't need the drugs and alcohol.
If kids feel like they aren't worth anything, then they turn to drugs and alcohol to, I guess, dull the pain. So lack of feeling of self, of purpose, or feeling of self, or feeling of being cared for makes them turn to drugs and alcohol. Sadness.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure on kids to perform in school, and I suppose they succumb to peer pressure.
I am the father of a 17-year-old girl who drinks alcohol, and I assume does do some drugs. I guess as a parent, I'm actually hoping that my daughter is not addicted to drugs and alcohol. My hope is that she will show responsibility and moderation in her use of drugs and alcohol. So I think, it could be said that I'm in denial, that maybe she is addicted, and I'm either unaware or don't accept the fact that she is addicted. My message tends to be moderation rather than abstinence.
We were at a Halloween party a couple years ago, and just sitting around having a couple drinks, and there was a guy there, and he was putting E into the girls' drinks, and without us knowing, and we all ended up getting stoned on ecstasy without not wanting to, and it was really horrible and really scary, doing something that didn't really want to do. And
I had a terrible experience. Now this one was so dumb. It happened in February a few months ago this year. I ended up partying with a couple of my cousins, and we were driving around, and I decided to be the sober drunk, even though I can't drive, but I was sitting in the passenger seat making sure we didn't crash into trees or pink elephants. And the guy who owns the car drank so much he ended up peeing on himself twice. He threw up once. Thank God it wasn't on me. He told us to get out because we were laughing at him.
I think it starts when they're children, before they're teenagers.
Effects can range from very small effects to very large effects, so that the child grows up having difficulties learning, and concentrating. So the effects can be fetal alcohol effect. The baby can have the effects on the face, where the eyes look different, and the eyes are set a little bit further apart, and the ears are lower, and there's a distinct look to the face. And those children have real problems. They're usually slower to develop, and they have difficulty learning, and they have real difficulty with attention. They're very special kids who need a lot of help. But when they get help, they're wonderful people to be around. If the mom has been dependent on the drug, then the baby's going to be born dependent on the drug too. So when the baby's born, the baby has to go through withdrawal. And so what happens after birth is that the baby is given drugs in the form of they're then called medicines, so that the baby can be weaned slowly off the drugs in the hospital, and then doesn't have to go through the withdrawal. But when the babies are born, they're quite fragile if they've been actually addicted to the drug like the mom, because they scream and it's very, very hard for the babies and for the moms and for the nurses too, because those babies are really they can't stand any light, and they don't even like to be cuddled when they're born, because they're just when you cuddle them, they just go really rigid, and they need to be wrapped up tightly and kept in the dark.
I started because there was a lot going on in my life. I didn't have my parents there for me throughout it, and I felt like I had no place to go. My bad experience would have to be when I did acid with my cousin for the first time. And there was about like 5 of us, and we were at my friend's place doing it. And for some reason, we all got split up and decided that we were gonna buy a bottle of alcohol. And then I decided I was also going to buy a bag of weed, which is kind of stupid because all of those drugs and alcohol mixed made us even more fucked up than we already are. I ended up getting extremely high, and me and my cousin were like rolling around and on the ground and falling everywhere, and some of my friends got arrested that night for breaking a hooker's leg. And I ended up having to call my grandparents to come pick me up and let them know what I did that night, which is really hard for me because they have these thoughts of me that I'm a good kid. The negative effects of doing drugs and alcohol really messed around with my brain. E took a lot of holes out of my brain. I lost my memory from smoking weed. I lost touch with my family, and I lost touch with myself. I no longer loved myself. I wanted to kill myself, and I had that plan too. I would like to know the reasons for the many changing seasons, for life and death, and why people take meth. Who has answers to questions, sometimes they are mentioned, but who really knows about life?